The Dragon Princess sat alone on the highest balcony of the floating palace. The clouds moved slowly below, glowing softly under the light of distant stars. She looked out at the endless sky and felt a quiet emptiness inside her. The palace was grand and beautiful, full of shining towers, golden walls, and crystal halls. Yet, no laughter or warmth had ever filled it for her. She had lived here all her life, surrounded by servants and guards, but never truly known joy. The palace was always cold and silent during this season. While humans far below celebrated holidays, hung lights, and exchanged gifts, the Dragon Princess only heard stories of such things from her tutors. She had never been allowed to take part. The court said human traditions were silly and weak, not fit for dragon royalty. Every year, she watched from the balcony, wishing she could feel what other beings felt during these bright and happy nights. She had a soft blue glow in her eyes, like the reflection of the stars, and long silver hair that shimmered in the night. Her wings were folded carefully behind her, elegant and strong, but even they could not carry her happiness. She had dragon's power, royal riches, and magical abilities, yet she felt more empty than anyone could imagine. Down in the palace halls, a human janitor moved quietly. He swept the corridors, carrying a simple wooden broom, humming a small tune he had learned as a child. The song was about snow, candles, and a night of joy. He did not know that someone was watching him from above. The Dragon Princess tilted her head, listening to the strange, soft sound. She had never heard such a tune in the palace. It made her chest feel warm in a way that her golden halls never had. The janitor worked silently, moving from room to room, picking up dust and polishing floors. He did not care about riches or crowns. He cared only about doing his work carefully, and somehow he always smiled when he thought of his family far below. The Dragon Princess watched him. She had never spoken to a human before, not in this way, not alone. But something about him felt different. Something about his small acts, his simple happiness, reached a place inside her heart that had been empty for years. She leaned closer to the balcony edge, letting her hands touch the cold stone. The wind blew around her, lifting her hair like silver waves. She felt small and fragile, yet alive in a way she had never been. She wondered what it would be like to know the joy of the song he sang. To laugh, to celebrate, to have someone care for her like the humans seemed to care for his world. The janitor finished his sweeping and looked up as if he felt eyes on him. He smiled softly, though he could not see her clearly in the shadows above. Something about his smile made the Dragon Princess's heart beat faster. She had never understood kindness before. In her palace, people obeyed her, but none truly cared for her feelings. This human, even in the smallest way, seemed to care. For a long time she stayed there watching him work. She thought about how strange it was that someone so ordinary could bring her the first hint of happiness she had ever known. She wondered if humans really felt joy so deeply, if simple songs and small traditions could mean so much. The thought made her curious. Maybe there was a world outside the palace she did not know. Maybe there were moments she had missed, moments of warmth and laughter she would never get alone. When the janitor finally left the hall, carrying his bucket and broom, the princess remained on the balcony. The stars sparkled like tiny lanterns, and the wind carried a faint scent of pine and distant snow from the human cities below. She held her hands to her chest, feeling a strange longing she could not describe. She wanted to speak to him, to ask about the songs, the lights, the warmth humans shared. But the rules of the palace forbade such contact. Royals did not speak to simple humans, not alone, not in secret. Still, she stayed there, thinking of him and the tiny happiness his presence had brought. Her wings twitched slightly as if ready to fly, even though she would not leave. She imagined what it would feel like to celebrate, to see lights and candles, to hear songs fill the halls instead of silence. For the first time she dared to hope. Maybe, just maybe, this year would be different. The Dragon Princess whispered to herself, softly, almost like a prayer. I wish I could know Christmas. The wind carried her words away, but for the first time she felt them reach something inside her. Something bright, fragile, and full of longing. She did not know how it would happen or if it could ever happen, but she felt the first spark of hope. As the night deepened and the janitor disappeared into the shadows, the princess remained on the balcony. Alone yet not completely lonely. Somewhere below, someone had unknowingly reached her heart. And for the first time she imagined what it would be like to feel joy, not as a princess, not as a dragon, but as someone who simply wanted to be happy. The stars glowed above, the wind whispered through the towers, and the Dragon Princess waited quietly for something magical to enter her life. The next morning the Dragon Princess woke earlier than usual. She had slept little, thinking about the human janitor and the strange song he had sung. His voice, soft and cheerful, stayed in her mind. She wondered what it all meant: the lights, the music, the stories he told of warmth and laughter. Her curiosity grew with every passing hour. In the palace halls, the janitor was already at work. He pushed a small cart filled with cleaning supplies and hummed a new tune. The princess followed quietly, staying in the shadows. She wanted to know more about him, about his world, and about the happiness he carried with him. It was strange for a princess to feel this way. She was supposed to care only for rules, magic, and royal duties. But she did not care about those things at the moment. She wanted to understand joy. At a large hall near the heart of the palace, the janitor stopped to polish a shining floor. He knelt, rubbing gently, and hummed a song about stars, snow, and candles. The dragon princess stepped closer, her wings folding carefully behind her. She had never spoken to a human before, and her heart beat faster than she expected. The janitor noticed movement in the shadows but did not seem afraid. Instead he smiled. "Good morning," the janitor said simply. His voice was warm, like sunlight after a long night. "It's chilly today, isn't it?" The princess hesitated, then spoke softly, almost in a whisper. What is this song you sing?" Her words were careful, but curiosity shone in her eyes. The janitor looked up, surprised. Royals rarely spoke to him. It's a Christmas song," he explained, tilting his head. "It tells about snow, candles, gifts, and happy moments with family. It's a special night humans celebrate once a year." The princess listened, fascinated. Humans celebrate? Even here in this world? Her voice was filled with wonder. She had read about humans in history books, but she had never imagined their celebrations. "Yes," the janitor said. "Even here people try to celebrate. It is about kindness, sharing, and joy. Everyone tries to give something, even small things, to others. Lights, songs, or gifts, they all mean love and hope." The princess tilted her head. She had never known kindness like this. In the palace, everyone obeyed her, but no one truly cared about her feelings. The janitor, a simple human, seemed to care in the smallest way, and it touched her heart. Can I see it?" she asked, almost shyly. "The celebration, the Christmas you speak of?" The janitor paused. He knew the court would forbid it if they found out, but he also sensed the princess's longing. "It is usually small and quiet," he said. "But I could show you something. Not the full celebration, just a little taste." The princess's eyes sparkled. She had never felt hope like this before. She nodded eagerly, unable to hide her excitement. For the first time she felt like a child, waiting for something magical to happen. That night, when the palace was silent, the janitor returned quietly with a small bag. Inside were simple decorations, tiny lights, a small wreath, and a few candles. He worked carefully, placing them in a hidden corner of the princess's private hall. The dragon princess watched him, fascinated. She had magical powers, but she let the janitor handle everything. She only helped by floating a candle here and there, and lifting a small wreath with her wings. Together they made the hall warm and bright, the walls glowing with the gentle light of human tradition. The janitor smiled at her. "It is not much, but it is a start. You do not need wealth or magic to feel Christmas. You only need to feel joy, even in small ways." The princess nodded, her heart filling with wonder. She had never thought simple things could bring happiness. She had thought only power and wealth mattered. But now she felt something stronger, something she wanted to protect and remember forever. They placed a tiny ornament on a golden stand, a small symbol of the human celebration. The princess reached out, touching it carefully. She felt warmth flow through her claws, up her arms, and into her chest. It was a feeling she had never known. "Thank you," she whispered, almost afraid to speak. "I never thought I could feel this way." The janitor smiled softly. Humans can share small joys, but sometimes they need someone to show them. Tonight it is your turn to see. Maybe next year we can do more. The princess looked around at the soft glow of lights, the tiny flicker of candles, and the shadow of the janitor. She realized that happiness was not in power or rules or even magic. It was in the simple acts of care, the small moments of kindness, and the sharing of joy. She laughed quietly, a sound she had never heard escape her throat before. The janitor looked up, startled, and then smiled. It was a small, soft sound, but for the dragon princess, it was the first real laughter of her life. As the night went on, the two of them worked together quietly, arranging the lights and decorations. The palace, usually cold and silent, seemed warmer somehow. The dragon princess felt hope, excitement, and curiosity for the first time. She wondered what other joy she had missed in her life, what other happiness she could find. For the first time she realized that humans were not weak as the court had said. They were strong in ways she had never imagined. Their courage was in their hearts, in their ability to care, to share, and to bring light to those who had none. As she drifted to sleep later that night, the Dragon Princess hugged herself, holding on to the warmth of the tiny human celebration. She dreamed of lights, laughter, and songs she would one day sing. She had never known Christmas before, but now, a spark had been lit inside her, a spark that could grow into something magical and unforgettable. The next evening, the Dragon Princess waited eagerly in her private hall. The soft glow of the tiny lights from the night before filled the room. She had never seen the palace so warm, so alive with quiet happiness. When the human janitor appeared at the doorway, carrying a small bag again, she felt a flutter of excitement she could not hide. "What are you bringing tonight?" she asked, her voice soft but full of curiosity. The janitor smiled, setting the bag down on the polished floor. "A few more things," he said. "Some lights, small gifts and decorations. It is not much, but together we can make this hall feel more like a real celebration." The Dragon Princess's eyes sparkled. She had never thought something so simple could make her heart beat like this. She hovered nearby, watching as the janitor carefully unpacked tiny strings of glowing lights, a small wreath with red berries, and a few candles that flickered without wind. The soft light made her silver hair shine like a river of stars. "Can I help?" she asked. The janitor shook his head, smiling. "You just watch for now. Let me do the hard work. You are a princess, not a janitor." She frowned slightly but decided to trust him. She hovered near the ceiling, using her wings to gently lift a candle and set it on a high shelf. It balanced perfectly. Then she helped float a small wreath to hang on the golden archway. Every movement of hers made the hall shimmer and glow, and the janitor noticed, smiling quietly to himself. "This is going to look wonderful," he said. "Even a small celebration can bring light to a place that has been dark too long." The Dragon Princess nodded, feeling a strange warmth in her chest. She had lived in this palace all her life, surrounded by gold, jewels and magic, yet she had never felt anything like this. She watched as the janitor carefully placed tiny gifts on a low table. Each one was simple, a small candle, a carved figurine, a tiny crystal. Yet they carried meaning. They carried the thoughtfulness of someone who cared. The princess reached out to touch one of the gifts. The warmth of the small candle made her claws tingle. She realized that happiness was not in grand treasures or magic spells. It was in the simple act of giving, in the thought that someone else had cared enough to make another happy. The janitor looked at her quietly. "You know," he said softly, "this is not just about the lights or the gifts. It is about hope. Even a small spark can grow into something bright. That is what Christmas is. Even for a dragon princess." The princess smiled, feeling the first real joy she had ever known. She floated closer and began helping more boldly. Together they strung glowing lights across the walls, hung tiny ornaments, and placed candles on every table and shelf. Each movement was gentle, careful, and full of care. The hall began to look magical. The shadows vanished, replaced by warm, dancing lights. At one point, the janitor struggled with a large string of lights that tangled around his arms. The princess giggled, a soft, musical sound, and helped lift the lights with her magic. They worked together, side by side, laughing quietly as they decorated the hall. It was the first time the Dragon Princess had ever felt laughter as true happiness. When the lights were strung and the wreaths hung, the janitor placed a small star on a golden stand in the center of the room. It sparkled like a piece of the sky. "This is the heart of our little celebration," he said. "It will remind us of hope, kindness, and joy. Even here, in the palace, even in the clouds above the human world, we can have Christmas." The Dragon Princess stepped closer to the star, her eyes shining. She felt a warmth in her chest that spread through her entire body. She realized that this tiny celebration, this simple act of decorating a hall with lights and gifts, had made her feel alive in a way she never had before. It was not magic that brought her happiness, it was care, thoughtfulness, and the human spirit. "I never thought it could feel like this," she whispered. "I never thought I could be happy." The janitor smiled gently. "Happiness is always closer than you think," he said. "Sometimes you just need a little spark to find it." They continued decorating late into the night. The halls that had been cold and silent now glowed with golden light. The Dragon Princess moved among the decorations, adjusting candles, floating ornaments, and arranging gifts. The janitor worked carefully, humming softly, while the princess listened to the human songs he knew. By the time the work was done, the hall had transformed completely. It was warm, bright, and magical, with a sense of hope that filled every corner. The Dragon Princess stepped back to look at it all, feeling a joy she had never known. She had thought the world of humans was strange, weak, and small. Now she understood that it was full of heart, courage, and light. The janitor looked at her and smiled. "Tomorrow we can celebrate," he said. "Just a little. But tonight we made something special. And that is the start." The Dragon Princess nodded, her wings folding neatly behind her. She had never imagined that a human, a simple janitor, could teach her about happiness. Yet here she was, glowing with joy, her heart full of warmth, surrounded by lights, candles, and gifts. She looked at the janitor, her eyes shining. For the first time she felt that she was not alone. For the first time she understood that kindness and care could cross the boundaries of power, species, and expectation. And for the first time she truly hoped for Christmas. The palace, once cold and empty, now held a tiny miracle. A spark of human joy had reached the heart of a dragon princess. And tomorrow they would celebrate it together. The night of Christmas Eve arrived, and the floating palace glimmered under the stars. The dragon princess stood in her private hall, looking around at the decorations she and the human janitor had carefully placed. The lights glowed softly, candles flickered, and tiny ornaments sparkled in the warm air. She had never seen anything so beautiful, and her heart thumped with excitement. The janitor entered quietly, carrying a small basket. "Everything is ready," he said softly, smiling at her. "Tonight is just for us. A little celebration as we promised." The dragon princess's eyes sparkled. She had never celebrated Christmas before, had never experienced the joy of giving or sharing in human ways. Her wings twitched with excitement as she stepped closer to him. I cannot wait," she said. Her voice was soft, yet full of wonder. The janitor set down the basket and opened it. Inside were tiny gifts, carefully wrapped, along with simple treats and a few glowing crystals. "I brought some small things for you," he said, "and I hope you will like them." The princess looked at the gifts with awe. She had grown up with treasures beyond imagination, yet these small, thoughtful presents made her feel something she had never felt before. She reached out and touched a small candle shaped like a star. It glowed warmly in her claws. For the first time she understood the power of simple care. "I want to give you something too," she said softly. She reached into a small velvet pouch and took out a glowing crystal from her royal vault. "It is not much, but I hope it can show my thanks." The janitor's eyes widened. He accepted the crystal carefully, understanding the thought behind it. "It is beautiful," he said. "And more than that, it is special because it comes from you." They placed the gifts on a low table, and the princess arranged them carefully with her magic. The hall glowed like a tiny universe of lights and warmth. Outside, clouds drifted silently beneath the palace, reflecting the golden glow of the candles and the sparkle of the decorations. The janitor pulled a small music box from his pocket. He wound it carefully and soft, cheerful music filled the hall. The dragon princess's eyes lit up. She had never heard music like this in her palace, not with such human joy. She stepped closer and listened, feeling the warmth spread through her body. "Do humans always celebrate like this?" she asked softly. "Not always," the janitor said, smiling. "Sometimes they forget or they are too busy. But Christmas is about stopping for a moment and remembering joy. It is about caring for others, giving and sharing. That is why I wanted you to see it." The princess nodded, a tear glinting in her silver eyes. She had never understood such kindness before. She had thought humans were weak and small, but now she saw strength in their hearts, in their ability to bring light even in darkness. They spent the night exchanging gifts. The janitor gave her small carved figurines and glowing candles. The princess offered him the crystal and a small magical pendant she had created. Each gift carried thoughtfulness, care, and meaning. Neither was rich in wealth, yet both felt richer than they had ever been. At one point, the dragon princess picked up a tiny candle and placed it on a high shelf. The janitor laughed quietly. "Careful, it might float away," he said. She giggled and used her magic to secure it. The sound of her laughter was like music itself. She had never laughed so freely, never felt so joyful. The hours passed quickly. They shared stories, sang softly, and watched the lights glow against the walls. The palace, once cold and silent, was alive with warmth and magic. The dragon princess felt something she had never known, happiness, pure and simple. "Thank you," she whispered to the janitor, her voice full of emotion. "I never thought I could feel this way. You have given me something I never had before." The janitor smiled, looking at her. You already had it inside you, he said. I just helped you see it. That is what Christmas is about. Sharing, caring, and noticing the sparks of joy around us. The princess felt her heart swell. She had never felt so connected to anyone before, not to the court, not to her magical powers, not to the endless riches of the palace. For the first time she felt a bond with another being, a simple human who had shown her the meaning of joy. When the first light of dawn touched the clouds outside, the hall glowed with the soft aftermath of their celebration. Candles flickered, gifts sat quietly, and tiny lights twinkled as if thanking them for their care. The dragon princess looked at the janitor, her eyes full of wonder. Tomorrow, she said softly, we can continue. We can make more celebrations, more lights, more joy. I want to remember this forever. The janitor nodded. We will. This is only the beginning. The dragon princess smiled, folding her wings behind her. For the first time in her life she had felt the magic of happiness, the warmth of giving, and the light of human care. She had never had Christmas before, but now she knew she would never forget it. The floating palace glimmered under the early morning stars. Somewhere below, humans celebrated, unaware that a dragon princess had finally discovered the true meaning of Christmas. And in the quiet palace, a human janitor and a dragon princess shared a night of joy that would last forever in their hearts. The morning after Christmas, the dragon princess woke with a lightness in her chest she had never felt before. The tiny hall they had decorated glowed softly in the first rays of sunlight. Candles flickered in quiet joy, ornaments reflected the golden light, and the gifts from the night before rested neatly on the table. She walked among them slowly, touching each one with care, remembering the laughter, the music, and the warmth of the human janitor's presence. She thought of him as he worked quietly, sweeping the palace halls and fixing small things. A simple man, yet he had changed her life with his kindness. He had shown her that happiness did not come from wealth or magic or power, it came from the heart. She had never realized before how much humans could give, how much small acts of care could mean. The janitor appeared quietly in the doorway, carrying a small tray of pastries he had baked the night before. Good morning, he said softly. I thought you might like something sweet. The dragon princess smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. Good morning, she replied. I never knew mornings could feel like this. They sat together among the candles and lights, sharing the small treats. The palace was usually silent in the mornings, filled only with echoes of servants moving about, but now it felt alive with quiet happiness. For the first time, the dragon princess felt part of a world she had only seen from above. A world full of laughter, care, and small joys that mattered more than anything else. Word of the secret celebration began to spread quietly through the palace. The servants whispered to each other, telling stories of the princess laughing and smiling, of the tiny lights and candles that had filled her hall with warmth. Some began to bring small decorations to their own quarters. Others hummed soft songs they had remembered from human towns below. Slowly the palace seemed to awaken in a new way. The dragon princess watched this quietly, feeling a sense of hope she had never imagined. Perhaps the court would never fully approve of human celebrations, but it did not matter. She had discovered a joy that was hers, a magic that came not from rules or power, but from simple acts of kindness. She turned to the janitor, her silver eyes shining. Thank you, she said. You have given me something no one else ever could. I want to remember this and I want to keep celebrating, even if the others do not understand. The janitor smiled humbly. You already have, he said. All I did was show you a little spark. You made it grow. That is what matters. The princess nodded. She thought of the tiny gifts, the lights, the music, and the songs. She thought of the way she had laughed freely without worry for the first time in her life. She felt a connection to the human world she had never known, a world of courage, care, and joy that crossed all boundaries, even those of dragons and royalty. As days passed, the dragon princess began to create new traditions of her own. She learned to bake simple treats with the janitor, to hang glowing ornaments in other halls, and to teach the servants small songs she had learned from him. Each act was simple yet powerful, spreading warmth through the cold palace. The janitor watched quietly, helping where he could, but mostly letting her lead. He knew that true joy was hers now, that she had discovered it herself. Yet he felt proud. He had never imagined that a human could touch a dragon princess's heart in such a deep way, and yet he had. The dragon princess began to look forward to each day with a new light in her heart. She no longer felt lonely, no longer watched from the balcony with longing. She had discovered that happiness could come in small ways, that kindness could change even the coldest palace, and that human courage and care could bridge worlds. One evening, as they sat together among candles and glowing ornaments, she looked at the janitor and smiled. "Next year," she said softly, "we will do even more. We will make the palace brighter, the gifts larger, and the songs louder. I want everyone here to feel what I felt." The janitor nodded. "And they will," he said. "Because once someone sees joy, they cannot forget it. It spreads quietly, slowly, but it always grows." The dragon princess folded her wings behind her and felt the first true peace she had ever known. She had wealth, power, and magic, but now she had something far greater: understanding, joy, and a human friend who had changed her life forever. The palace, once silent and cold, now glimmered softly with lights and laughter. The humans and dragons who lived within its walls began to feel something new. A simple spark of human kindness had touched the heart of a princess, and that spark had grown into a gentle, glowing tradition that would last for years to come. The dragon princess looked out over the clouds, the lights of her hall reflecting in her silver eyes. Somewhere below, humans celebrated their own Christmas, unaware that their joy had reached far above, touching a dragon princess in the clouds. She felt hope, warmth, and happiness fill her heart completely. She turned to the janitor and said softly, "I will never forget this night. And I will make sure that Christmas and everything it means lives here with us always." He smiled, bowing slightly. "And I will be here," he said, "to help you and to celebrate with you. Always." The dragon princess looked at the glowing hall, the small gifts, and the flickering candles. She had never had Christmas before, but now she knew that even a single human with a small heart full of care could change a princess's world forever. And in that moment a tradition was born.